Welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. This is a show all about implanting hope in our hearts. I'm Bill Snyder, joined by my friend Ann DeSantis. We're glad you're here for our uplifting conversation about faith and how it sustains our hearts through all the seasons of life. Thanks for walking with us. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. I am Bill Snyder. It's wonderful to be with you here this evening, no matter where you're listening to us or how you're listening to us. Thank you so very much for joining us and being on the journey of Lent with us. This is going to be a wonderful episode, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Ann DeSantis. Ann, how are you this evening, and how are you doing out there in Philadelphia tonight?
Oh, I'm doing so well, Bill. And as I say every week now that we're in like mid-March, that I'm going to sound happier and happier as we get into the spring because I love the warmer weather.
Me too.
Especially, yes, I know you're out in Wisconsin. I'm here in Philadelphia, and our wonderful, wonderful guest, Dr. Matt Smith, is out in Indiana. And we're so excited about having him on this podcast with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good evening. Thanks for having me, Ann and Bill. I really appreciate having the opportunity to be here with you tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, we're so grateful to you. You're coming to us, I believe, from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I would love to read your bio so that people can get to know a little bit about you and the wonderful work that you're doing for so many people. So Matt Smith is the Director of Strategic Alliances at the OSV Institute for Catholic Innovation, the philanthropic arm of the Our Sunday Visitor Publishing Company, and one of the oldest Catholic grant makers in the United States. The newly named OSV Institute for Catholic Innovation seeks an evolution that better embodies the values by which OSV was first founded. Archbishop Knoll founded OSV over 100 years ago using new methods and approaches to educate Catholic faithful and advance the gospel of Jesus Christ. Today, the OSV Institute for Catholic Innovation recognizes the need for a similar catalyst to cultivate thought, leadership, strategic doing, and design thinking to ultimately energize and renew the 21st century church. Matt, a former professor at the Fort Wayne-based University of St. Francis, came to the OSV Institute for Catholic Innovation in early 2020. And is responsible for managing existing relationships while generating new opportunities on a national basis with Catholic institutions, service providers, startup businesses, and Catholic ministries. Most notably, those who apply for the OSV Challenge grant-making competition, now in its second year. Sample interview questions, talking points are available on, okay, now that's something that we don't need to read, but I went too far. So thank you so much for joining us on Sowing Hope.
Well, Ann, again, and Bill, thank you so much for having me. And Ann, that was quite a mouthful of a bio, and so you did a great job there.
I was trying. But yeah, you're doing amazing things. Why don't we start out with even you as a Catholic husband, probably father. Tell us more about you.
Well, I'm actually a native of Fort Wayne, grew up here, went through 12 years of Catholic education, and then left and got an undergraduate degree in English and then a PhD in English. And I taught for 3 years in Chattanooga, Tennessee at a 2-year college, a community college there. Had a great experience. My parents were starting to have some health problems, and so I moved back to the Midwest for 2 years. Bloomington, Illinois, and then the position at the University of St. Francis opened up, and I was able to move to Fort Wayne back where they were to help with them a little bit. I also met my wife in Bloomington, Illinois, so it was a very profitable 2 years. Mostly for me, I don't know about her, but mostly for me. I'm kidding there. But we were able to come here, and so I had a 17-year career at the University of St. Francis. I started there as a professor of English. It's my background, and directed the writing program. Then I chaired the Department of English and Foreign Languages, was Dean of Arts and Sciences for a number of years. And then for the last 7 years was Vice President for Institutional Advancement which oversaw development, alumni relations, career outreach, marketing, and whatever else President Sister Elise Chris could throw my way to keep me on my toes. But it was a great experience. The Order of Sisters that sponsors the Sisters of St. Francis of Perpetual Adoration, wonderful order, growing. They were great to work for. And then I was lucky enough to move on to OSV in the Institute. And it's been an interesting year. I started about a month before the pandemic, before the shutdown. And so, dealing with that in a new company and really a new industry as a whole. And so that's been a interesting kind of experience, but a good experience. I mean, it's something I think, a lot of listeners, you and Bill can probably share. God always takes care of you and often puts new challenges in front of you, and that those new challenges will invigorate you. And I really have felt that over the last year. I've been very blessed.
That's awesome.
Wow, amazing. You have such a lot of experience in both education and marketing and in your Catholic faith. And so that's just incredible. It's a really good combination, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure that you've been on quite a journey, met so many great people in all the work that you have done. And 2020 proved to be a challenging year, but I think you had a good year from what I could tell. And
oh yeah, it's been a wonderful year. I've been, I got to work with a wonderful boss, Sister Elise at the University of St. Francis for many years. And then moving into the Institute, working with Jason Shanks, who I think probably a lot of your listeners will know through his work with the Institute, just his thought leadership and innovation. And like I said, it's been something new for me. I mean, with my background in academics and education, learning is a really important aspect for me. And so it's been a real, what I'll say is a deep dive into innovation and how to cultivate it, in sort of wrapping it in the new evangelization to bring people to the church. And so it's been a great experience. And I am so thankful that it's worked out. We've been very blessed. It's sort of, the pandemic has been horrible in many ways, but it's also been a chance for me to spend a lot of time learning about innovation, learning about OSV, which has actually been very fascinating. I honestly got to be on with your listeners and you. I didn't know a whole lot about them, and I'd love to tell you a little just about the history, because I think I do think that it's an interesting story that in good Midwestern fashion we don't tell often enough. Sort of that humble Midwestern, oh shucks kind of attitude. So I see Bill kind of, we got to get more of the we got to get more of the brash East Coaster in us. Not to taunt our friend in Philadelphia here.
That's right. Well, I have to say that Bill was originally from my area, right, Bill?
Yes.
So
but I love it.
He's a Midwesterner, but his heart is also over here too.
Yep.
And I see a little bit of both in him. So, yeah, please do tell us the history. We'd love to hear. I know our listeners would also love to hear.
Yeah, just very briefly, but it really ties into what we're doing with the challenge now and in the Institute's work with innovation. So OSV, Our Sunday Visitor, was founded by Father Knoll at the time in 1912. And he founded it as a way to combat some of the misrepresentations of Catholic faith and Catholic teachings in the Midwest. So, some of the, I don't know if they're apocryphal or not, but some of the stories about Father Knoll is he would go, they would have tent meetings. A lot of the evangelical movement would have tent meetings. And when he would go to these tent meetings and, there would be some misrepresentation of the faith, and Father Knoll would go to talk back, to the preachers. But he would also tell the people who arrived, he said, if you want to hear the real story about the Catholic Church, come back the next night and I'll be here and tell you the real story. And so, again, it could be apocryphal, but it's part of the legend and history of OSV is he was sold a printer for $1 in 1912. And so he started the Our Sunday Visitor newspaper, and it was a series of letters as if a friend stopped by Father Knoll's house and was asking him questions about the faith. And so, I know OSV still has the newspaper. The weekly newspaper is still published At one time it was one of the most popular newspapers in the United States. And actually, OSV for a long time was a large publishing house. That was what it was best known as. One of the things I learned as becoming a new employee was at one time there was a railroad spur that went right to the warehouse. And at Christmas time and other holidays, OSV would take in as vendor contracts the Sears catalog. So, like their Christmas catalog would be printed at OSV, and then they'd ship it out right on the rails from there, which I think is a funny story kind of thing like that. But as OSV grew and diversified, and again, where it links in is Father Noel was always about being an entrepreneur, an innovator. How can I communicate the faith outside of our regular church and really the truth of the faith? So it's not misrepresented. So people have the opportunity to share in it. And so really always that innovative entrepreneurial spirit. Now what OSV does is probably many people know us by our publishing of or our printing of many of the church envelopes. There's about 17,000 parishes in the United States, and OSV prints envelopes for about 15,000 of them. So we enter into many people's lives through that. We also do a lot of curriculum, both for K through 8 education and homeschool curriculum. What we've begun to do in the last 15, 20 years, though, is also a lot of online media. So we partner with some folks to have curriculum through online venues and mediums. We also publish books, trade books, things like that, number of websites. We also have a large component of what I would call parish services, church management software, website services, capital campaign, marketing services. We've begun to help Catholic schools market better. We've been doing some things with some Catholic schools in the area. So again, sort of building on that entrepreneurial, innovative spirit of Father Noel, Archbishop Noel. He did become a bishop and then was given the honorary title of Archbishop. And building on that, really around innovation and around entrepreneurship. And so, one of the things that really attracted me to leave a tenured position at a university, which is sort of unheard of, and I was somewhat asked many questions by my colleagues, was I was really attracted to the learning culture at OSV. It's really a culture of, we want to make sure that OSV is serving the church 50 years from now, 75 years from now. So what do we need to do to be on the cutting edge for the church, to bring people to Christ? And so around that, it goes into the story of the challenge. So I want to take a breath because I've been talking at you for a bit.
Yeah, no. I love hearing this because first of all, I want to just say I love OSV in so many ways. One thing that I love about you guys that you've done for many years are the little pamphlets. And and I have a whole bunch of them here at my house, and I sometimes pick them up and say, oh my gosh, I love this author. And so for so many years, you've been doing amazing work to help to evangelize and to bring really good Catholic content to individuals and Catholic families all over the place.
Well, that's really kind of you to say, Anne, and I appreciate that. Like we still publish the Priest magazine, the Deacon magazine, and some other things like that. And again, we're always looking for ways that we can get the message out about the church in North America.
Yeah, I am very interested to hear your perspective on innovation, especially in the Catholic Church, because, we don't hear that word an awful lot when we come into a parish setting. They're like, oh no, we're going to continue doing the same thing the same way. We've been doing this for 50 years. And we then expect a different result to happen. I've served on parish staffs for many years as a youth minister, and I've always seen that everywhere I've gone. And so part of the reason why I believe the Lord called me into doing this Patchwork Heart ministry was because we just can't continue to spin the wheels and do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. So, I would love to hear your perspective, because I'm sure you have, doing this whole innovation challenge thing, some really keen insights into, how Catholics can become better innovators and work to build the church, not just of today, but of tomorrow.
Bill, that's a great question, and I appreciate that analysis. And you kind of cut to the heart of it. So, kind of giving you a little bit of a link with the history of OSV. So in 1915, the Institute, OSV Institute, uh, uh, I guess, became real within the operation because Father Noel always thought that any funds generated by OSV needs to go back to the church. So OSV is the Institute is not a traditional endowment. We operate out off the margin of what OSV makes, and so that we are giving back to the church what we're able to take in. Um, and in 1970 or so, this is for all your governance junkies out there, we actually became an actual institute by the governance documents and all those kind of things, a little bit separate from OSV, but still part of OSV, if that makes any sense. And OSV is a 501(c). A lot of people don't realize that. So we refer to ourselves as a social enterprise, trying to give those funds back. So we hired Jason Shanks 3 years ago as president of OSV. And when he came to us, doing traditional grant making, wonderful job supporting wonderful organizations. He halted grants for about a year and just did sort of a year. I mean, some might call it a walkabout, a sort of study tour, and really immersed himself in all the things that were going on in the Catholic world to try to figure out exactly, Bill, what you were talking about, and Anne, what you've alluded to in other comments, and sort of, what's going on in the Catholic Church and where does it need its most assistance. And so part of that is, very data driven. I mean, we've all seen the numbers of people leaving the church, young people leaving the church, people's trust of the church, all those things. And so, what Jason decided, or what the OSV and the board kind of worked through, was we would have 3 strategic initiatives to grant to, and they were around the domestic church, so family services, things like that, getting the domestic church, building up the church in your home, working with millennials and nuns, those that don't have faith or those that have left the faith, and then also serving our growing Hispanic population. And again, very data-driven, demographic. What is happening with the church in North America? As we become a more diverse church, and certainly the Hispanic Latino population is growing within the church. And so, how do we serve them as brothers and sisters in a authentic way? So, for the last 2 years, that's what we've done our grant making, 3 cycles of grants, and it's been organizations that again have done wonderful work. And so last year, Jason and the OSV Institute started the challenge, the 2020 challenge, our first challenge, as sort of a let's see what happens with innovation. And so there were about 350 applicants in the first round, got down to 12 finalists, 3 $100,000 prizes. And what we did, and this is where the higher ed background and some of the assessment work I'd done in higher ed really worked out well, was look at the impact of our grants over the last 2.5 years and our investment in innovation. And what we really saw was that our grantees were doing tremendously good work. But Bill, they were doing exactly kind of what you said, offering some of the same services that they had been for 30, 20, 15 years. Pardon me. So were they having an impact? And we thought, when we looked at what sustainability and impact that our innovation challengers were having, even just in the 12 and the nascent ideas and things like this, we thought the potential was much greater there. So we rebranded ourselves to the OSV Institute for Catholic Innovation. So while that may seem like a minor change, it really signaled our emphasis on funding things that are innovative in the church, still within the magisterium. And we have put more resources into our challenge 2021, where again, applications are open, so osvchallenge.com, but applications are still open till April 2nd for the first round. Move people into the second round. We will have 25 semifinalists at that time. We will give grant prize money at that time to the semifinalists, a certain level. Those 25 will enter Accelerator through OSV, where we hope to give them sort of spiritual formation, but also business formation. They'll be with mentors. We will do a 6-week accelerator, online accelerator. From those 25, we will get 12 finalists. Those 12 finalists will have a prize money, grant money given to them at another level. And then those 12 will compete for the 3 $100,000 prizes. And so it's a long-winded way, Bill, of getting to, what do we see as innovation in the church? And it's a way, one, linking back to our charism as OSV, back to Archbishop Knoll. He wanted to do something new. He kept trying to figure out what was going to evangelize, what was going to get the message out, always in new ways. The other thing that we really, in our sort of discernment about our own grant making was, the history of the church is about grant making. It's about innovation. You think about hospitals, you think about schools. Some things as simple as beer making, pretzels, all these kind of things, but big things like hospital systems, schools, a rash of scientific discoveries, but also things like pretzels and beer and things like that. But the Catholic Church has been about innovation. Now, with total frankness, the last and somewhat challenging, some of the scandals, some of but what we really think at OSV is, the church needs to go on the offensive. And that doesn't mean, in a sort of, poke their chest, stand up and scream, but it's really to talk about, we are innovative. Let's share that innovation with the world. And then let's share the truth and beauty of the Catholic Church. Let's find ways that maybe we're just not doing right now to serve our brothers and sisters and bring them to Christ. And that really, again, a very long-winded answer, as English professors might be willing to do every once in a while, but to your answer. But it really, we thought it both aligned with our charism as OSV, but also aligned with the Catholic Church as an innovator.
Yeah, I feel like I could listen for a long time because, as I said, I love the work that you're doing. I've always really loved what OSV's been doing, and especially this new challenge. And, we all have to keep up with innovation, all of us, whether we're Catholic or not, right? And if we don't, honestly, we're going to be left behind. So,
well,
if that makes sense.
It's, not only left behind, Ann, but it's also about, one, we're a gospel church. We want people to be able to share in that, in that gospel message. And so, but it's also about linking the heritage of the Catholic Church with what lies ahead. You don't want to lose the tradition. You don't want to lose the truth, but you have to find ways that you can reach people and serve people that make sense and that work for them. And like I said, just in a data-driven demographic way, we can see that perhaps the church in North America is not as successful as it could be.
Yeah, that's a good thought. The ending part, as successful as it could be, because there's always room for improvement. And I think when we're humble enough to look at ourselves, and as you said, data-driven, look at the facts, right? And how can we reach those younger people who are walking away from their faith, as some people refer to them as the nuns, NONES, right? Not NUNS like the sisters, right? But how can we reach those people? And, part of also what we do with Sowing Hope is also the same thing, because we found that our demographic is really very widespread, right, Bill? We've got people inside and outside of the church, which is a great thing. So you're getting listeners right now that are both devoted Catholics and also people who are kind of on the borderline there. So, so thank you so much for joining us on this podcast.
Oh, I'm very happy to share this, and as I said, it's as successful as we could be, because there's so much that the church does well, and there's so many ways it serves so many people. But how do we amplify that, quite frankly, and how do we do it even better? I think, Ian, I really appreciate your sort of spinning out my pontification there at the end. So I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I know Bill's shaking his head there because we see each other on Zoom as we're doing this audio podcast. we have to look at the body of the church, don't we? And we have to look at the members, people who consider themselves churchgoers and they're at mass every week, even through the pandemic, and people who have stopped going to mass during the pandemic. And then there's people who have been away even before that, right? And they haven't been in church, but still consider themselves Catholic. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, because all of us are trying to find ways to engage people who are, quote, away from their faith. I didn't know if you had any words to say on that. And what has OSV, what is your thoughts about that? Because like you said, you're looking at the data.
Yeah, one of the things, and I'll talk about it, through our challengers last year, the 12 finalists, and talk about some of those finalist projects. Some of the things that, we want to fund so that they can be successful. And some of them will, people may go to the website and say, well, how does that wrap into, evangelizing or bringing people? I'll give you an example. We had one project that was a technology project, and it really was for parish priests to be able to, it was almost like a customer relationship management, but so that they could know where people were in sacramental prep, all kinds of things that could be data driven, that anywhere from a parish secretary to the priest could use, so that the priest could spend more time being pastoral with his parishioners as opposed to checking out who was baptized, who was this, a really easy sort of parish management system, for lack of a better word. But it allows that priest to spend more time being a pastor. Why more than likely that person became a priest in the first place. So, that's one project. One of our winners was Eden Invitation. And that was a project. Are you familiar with Eden Invitation?
Yes. We, in fact, in the foundation that I represent, the St. Raymond Donatus Foundation, one of our priests, Father Ken, which Bill knows very well, he asked me he said, put this on our website, so Eden Invitation is on the St. Raymond Donatus website underneath our helpful resources.
Great. I mean, that's great. And,
yes,
they're out of Milwaukee, I believe, Bill. I think they're out of Milwaukee. And so, Eden Invitation is a movement for young adult Catholics experiencing same-sex desires. And so it's really a safe space for those individuals who often believe the church has no space for them, to talk about that in a real and authentic way within, again, the church. And so they have a Hearth and Porch initiative, which fosters local hubs for community and formation, and create new evangelistic testimony videos. So, something like that for a segment of our population that may believe the church has no opening for them or no safe space for them, a organization that does provide that. One of our other winners, just talking about that, was the Juan Diego Network, which, serving, and I see Ann again, I'm on the Zoom with them, so I can see Ann shaking her head. Are you familiar with the Juan Diego Network? Or?
It's funny. Literally, I'm talking just this week. Father Ken Breen, he might even be listening, who's our spiritual moderator for the St. Raymond Donatus Foundation, where I'm the director. He said, put these links on our website. So Juan Diego Network is also on the helpful resources for St. Raymond.
See, Ann, you knew all about the challenge. I didn't even need to be on. You're already promoting. But really, what the Juan Diego Network is trying to do is distribute programs for Latino Catholics, and so help evangelize them, train, pray, inspire, and bring Catholics back. Because again, data driven, the Hispanics are the most rapid growing population, but they're also the fastest population leaving the church. And so, again, how do we retain, how do we get them back to see the truth and beauty of the church?
That's beautiful. All the work you're doing. I also think that, just by the fact of the coincidence, or maybe not the God incidence of it appearing on the St. Raymond Donatus Foundation website, is the fact that, here the money is being put to good use. It is being used in such a way that it is reaching new organizations, new places, so that so that their names can be out there, so that they can innovate, so they can create, so they can get new customer base into their organization.
No, and that's exactly right. We talk a lot about the ideas and the concept behind it. It's unbelievably important, but equally important are the people. And that's one of the things as we're going through Challenge 2021 is really trying to get an idea of the people that are involved in these projects. One, I think you will both be sympathetic to this or empathetic to this, is that innovators and entrepreneurs, sometimes it can be really lonely. And sometimes you're faced with failure on a daily basis. And so what we're also trying to do is get the innovators connected with each other, build a tribe of innovators so they have that support. One of the things that we found with the challengers last year and doing some assessment afterwards was they found that one of the most valuable parts of the whole program, was that they were able to connect with other folks going through similar experiences. We also, in the accelerator that we offered last year, we would bring in entrepreneurs that had been successful to talk to them. They were also given mentors in their own fields to help them. Oh yeah, I know you're probably struggling with marketing at this point, or what development system should I use, or just things like that. Or I have a wife, I have a husband, I have children. How do I make sure that I'm not working 22 hours a day and ignoring that part of my life? How do I make sure that I'm not ignoring the spiritual part of my life? And not to use a trite term, because balance is I think a contextual thing, but how do I make sure that all the parts of my life are in harmony? And we found that was as equally as important as getting the concept of the business right, or the nonprofit. And so, it's really, truly, as we get more into the innovation and things like this, it's about the people. And so we're really trying to cultivate those people that can be successful.
Yeah, I agree with you. We can analyze and look at the data, but at the end of the day, right, it's always about the individual human beings, and that's who we're trying to, and that we're trying to evangelize them. And what does that mean? That means that the church and Jesus Christ has a relevance in their lives, right? And that it's not just something like a checkbox that grandma goes to church on Sundays and wants her grandchildren to go to mass, right? And get their sacraments. It's not about that. It's about making Jesus Christ and the church something of real and true importance, right?
Well, and about encountering that love. I mean, the love of God and of Christ. I mean, it's about that encounter. And again, I mean, it's also about building that community with your fellow travelers. I mean, to know that you're not alone, whether it's innovation or whatever you're doing. As we had a group of the women that were part of the 12 challengers. We did a male and a female sort of spiritual development, because there are just different things that go on, different pressures. A number of those women were mothers, young mothers, different challenges with that, trying to start a business or start a nonprofit. And so it was very interesting to hear their stories and how important that was for them to connect. And then there were some very pragmatic things that happened out of that too. I mean, in the sense of, there were some challengers that were experts in X, Y, or Z, and they could help other challengers with whatever they were dealing with in that arena. So that was very good too. And again, what we want to keep doing through this challenge, and this year trying to be pronounced, is, so I've talked to a lot of the folks that have had questions about 2021. So, should I apply, is this idea? And I always tell people, this is not an endorsement or a discouragement about your idea, but, trying to get people even that round one application is just to get your idea down, and to start to think about what might be, who am I serving with this, those kind of things. And so we've tried to tell people, it's a competition. So there will be people that will move on, but every step of the way, we're asking you a little bit more to push yourself a little bit more. So even if you don't make it to the finalist, or even if you're not a winner, we want the challenge to be valuable for each and every person that takes part in it.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart idea too, Matt, because there's so many people out there that are faithful, that do have these ideas, that do have this calling from God to reach out and do ministry. I mean, that calling doesn't seem to be stopping. And it's never stopped. That's part of being Catholic. And so when you look at that, like, all right, the one thing that kind of inhibits that, especially in modern culture, is our society and the way that our society is organized with all these different, facets of it. So having to make sure that your business is a sound business and it has a good business plan is very important to just survive in the 21st century. Whereas maybe in the 16th century or something else, you didn't have to have all of these different check boxes checked. Do I have a website? Do I have this? Do I have that? No, I think you went outside and just kind of started talking, and people followed
But
you.
you were hoping that barbarians did not attack your city that day. That was that was
Yeah. Exactly. So but I think that's a great way to approach it, because then you've got, all right, now here's the business plan. Here's this. Here's that. All right, now we can move forward, and we've got these. We're meeting the demands that our society currently demands of us to evangelize effectively.
Well, and Bill and Ann, another part of this too is, along with the innovation tribe, we're also trying to speak to an investor tribe. You know, in even in this 1 year of me working with the institute, and talking with other leaders of foundations and other folks that work with foundations. And Ann, you may have this conversation often within your realm of vocation. You know, foundations and philanthropists are looking to make an impact. They want to know that whatever dollars they're giving out is doing good. And so, what we're trying to do is raise the profile of many of these organizations and get them in front of folks that may be able to support them, that want to see these ideas succeed. And so, we're also trying to work with other investors. Obviously we've invested, our foundation's money, our institute's money into this, and we're trying to get other folks to say, hey, this is important for the church. How can we help you? How can we do this? Maybe around an individual organization, maybe it's around the challenge, all kinds of things that we're trying to work with, bringing other Catholic philanthropists and foundations together. Last year of our 12 challengers, probably 6 were nonprofits and 6 were for-profit. So we've also done some things with sort of helping those for-profit ideas understand what equity investment might look like, what valuation might look like, really trying to help them understand what is scalability, how might you scale things. And so what might work as a great idea in your parish isn't going to be sustainable for the long run. And so how do you scale that? What does that mean? What do you market? What kind of capital needs may you need? Which all gets, very business-like in some ways, but it's also about how can you successfully spread the message of Christ through whatever your ministry is, or through your program, through your software, through your creative endeavor, whatever that may be. And that's, one of the things, just to get across to your listeners, a lot of the questions I get is, well, I'm thinking of X. Does that fit in the innovation? And, at this point, the second year of the Innovation Challenge, we are still casting our net as wide as possible. We don't have any preconceived notion of what the innovative idea around X or Y or Z may be. So, we are looking for things in Catholic education. We are looking for things in technology. We are looking for creative endeavors. We're looking for it all, business ideas, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I have to say, Matt, even before we met, this is funny. As soon as you put that on social media, I got a message back from somebody at your office that I was the first person to apply for the St. Raymond Donatus Foundation. And I'll just add, for people who don't know us, is that we do spiritual accompaniment for families in crisis and families affected by divorce and separation. So that's what we do. We offer that spiritual accompaniment. And she said to me, "Oh, you're the first to apply." So I don't know where that'll go, but I just want to put it out there that I jumped on as soon as I said, oh my gosh, I have to do this right away.
That's great, Ann. I'm sorry to say it does not give you any bonus points. But I'm very glad.
I figured. And I have to mention another beautiful, wonderful nonprofit is, of course, Patchwork Heart Ministry, right here. But Bill Snyder with being the founder and me being part of this podcast. So, hey, who knows? Who knows?
You never know.
Right?
No, and that's, I mean, truly, sometimes it's just that one word of encouragement, that one leap of faith for someone to take an idea. And, we had one of our challenges, this is not an exaggeration, was a sort of back of napkin idea that she had sketched out and put it into the round one and made it all the way to the finals. It was something that she was very passionate about. She was very coachable, really wanted to learn how to get this idea operationalized, wonderful idea. And so, I really want to encourage, I want to encourage your listeners. I mean, I've talked to a number of people really where it seemed like they just wanted someone to say, go ahead and take that chance. And so go ahead and take that chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Definitely. And, that's also a little bit scriptural too, right? I mean, Peter gets out of the boat. He does. So I think for folks out there, that are listening, and I know we have a lot of different, Catholic pastors and ministries that occasionally listen to our podcast. So if there's an idea that you have out there, take the first step, knowing that there is a net here for you to fall into with the OSV Innovation Challenge, because this entire mission here is to help you be secure in that, and not just, worry about stepping out on these waves and start sinking. No, there's going to be somebody there to lift you out and go, okay, when you're sinking, all right, here we are. We're going to help you walk through this process. We're going to help you take the next step. It might be scary, but we're going to help you through it. And I think that's, a beautiful thing you're, really working on, Matt. And I think the other thing too is it encourages people. I think it encourages people in the pews, because I know we have a lot of people that are just ordinary Catholics that may not consider themselves innovators and never will, but it takes that to the next level in their own faith journey too, because it's saying, all right, you know what chances am I willing to take for the church? What chances am I willing to take to evangelize the next person on the bus today? And seeing that, pushing people to become the best version of themselves, to steal Matthew Kelly's line, is just something that I think you guys are doing, and it's such a beautiful thing to see.
Bill, one of the points that you brought up in there, and Ann, I will again give you kudos for being the first application in there, but is I really want to encourage. A lot of times people think innovation entrepreneurs, they're sort of solitary individuals doing their own thing. But, what I would also want to encourage is folks who are in parishes or diocesan offices or large nonprofits, not large church nonprofits. If you have an innovative idea within your ministry or something that you think might work, go ahead and apply. This isn't just for people. This isn't just for startups, though. We don't want it. These aren't capacity building grants or prizes like that where you can scale up. But if you have something within your heart, and you have the permission of your pastor, of your bishop, or of your leader, go ahead and apply. See if that is, because we're considering that too. You don't have to be, like I said, that solitary entrepreneur by themselves, or a team of entrepreneurs and innovators. We want those too, but we also want those people that may be in different parts of the church that have always said, this could make what I do or the way that we serve people better. Let us know about that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I think that's an important aspect that, it could be someone new. It could be somebody that has a great idea within their organization that, hey, if we did this, we could really reach more people. This could be a great project. So if you're out there listening and you're a nonprofit, or you're working for a church or an individual or whatever, an author, who could be whatever, there's so many different variances of who these people are, right? Do apply. Tell, as we're nearing, not quite there, but nearing toward the end of the show, almost in within 10, 15 minutes or so, tell us how they apply.
So where they would start with osvchallenge.com. osvchallenge.com is the website. And there you can find the application information, a timeline, a frequently asked questions sheet. And then there's a contact button. If you still have further questions, your question will eventually end up to me probably. So, just go to osvchallenge.com, take a look at the materials there, and then, submit your application. And again, we have till April 2nd for round 1 to be open. And then we'll move people into round 2, semifinalist, and then finalist.
Wow, that's exciting. It really is. So when does it all wrap up? Like, when will people know, like at the end of the day, quote, when will they know who won and everything like that?
Well, innovation never stops, Ann, but the contest will. We will give checks out.
Yeah.
So the challenge will. So it will end with a demo day. It'll culminate in a demo day with the 12 finalists, and we're hopeful that the demo day will be in person. We had to go virtual with our first one last year, which went fine, but we'd like to bring the people together. September 18th will be, and we'll, as we get closer to that event, OSV will publicize that event. And, one of the things too, Ann and Bill, as we move along this, maybe if you want to check in a couple months, where are we at? What are we doing? Yeah. Maybe bring on semifinalists or, so and again, that's just an idea, but, that September 18th is, again, we want to make this about the challengers. It's not about OSV. It's about these challengers, about these 12 ideas and these 12 people. What are they showing the world? And so we're very excited about that. And we're very excited that we have the potential to have an in-person event. We'll knock on wood and whatever else we have to do to make that happen.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. We definitely, you can have our answer now. We'd love to have the challengers on and talk with them. I mean, I think that's, awesome.
Oh, I'd love to.
Because, again, that can be another way for them just to spread the message. I'm a very firm believer, just because I took, my undergraduate in communication and TV radio production in particular, that media is such a needed thing, and it's a needed thing to tell accurately the truth and give people a platform. Media is a platform. It's for people to share unbiased stuff. And so I really, really, really firmly believe that, and to spread the truth. So when you can spread the truth of the faith, spread the truth of the gospel, and have some fun doing it through some great stories of innovation, gosh, I think that's a great idea. And we'd be happy to continue to support and help OSV. I mean, this has been so awesome, Matt. I really appreciate all your time and just being with us tonight and sharing with us this great challenge for people to really live up and step up to the plate. That's the other thing. Maybe you just want to comment on as we wrap up. Is we need people to step up in the Catholic Church and fill the gap. You talked a lot earlier about how parts of the church might be lacking, but the only way to do it is to step up, right? So just maybe share with us a little bit about to challenge us to step up in the final minutes.
And I really think it's the challenge of, as I said, being on the offensive, and not to use it in sort of the martial terms, but to use it in the term of to be open to that challenge and to be open to sharing the beauty and truth. I mean, again, I think we may have become a little bit defensive about things as a church and as a people. And again, there's been some hard years recently, and for a variety of reasons. But again, we have such a wonderful message, and we have the truth, and we have. I mean, our church has over 2,000 years of heritage that we can share with people, and so I think that the stepping up part is, is it enough just to go to mass every Sunday? Is it enough to say your rosary every week or those kind of things. Well, where else are your gifts leading you? Where else can they take you? And again, what we're really looking for is to make a community, a tribe of innovators, of entrepreneurs that can support each other as they work through. And again, part of this is we realize at OSV that not every idea is going to flourish, but we really hope that they do. But we know that we'll be seeding some ideas that will flourish and that will have an impact in a positive way for the church and for the world. And so that's really that stepping up. I mean, I think that what you're alluding to, Bill, is, and I would challenge your listeners. Again, a lot of folks are very nervous. Oh my gosh, I don't want to put myself out there. I can't take another rejection email or letter. But you know what? Just articulating your idea, okay, maybe so it doesn't go beyond round 1 or 2 of the OSV challenge, but maybe you refine that and you learn from that, and next year you apply, or there's another foundation, or you find out that there's another ministry that's doing something very similar, and you start to connect with them. There's so many things that can happen by taking that first step.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I'm so glad we had you on this show. It's been so interesting and great to meet you. And I would love to have you back again on Sowing Hope. And like you said, maybe some of the winners this coming year. And is there
we would love to do that. We want to sort of give them a lift in their profile. But I love the work that you and Bill do, Ann, and that planting hope in hearts. I mean, I love that theme, and I really appreciate your giving me the opportunity, the platform to share this message and this challenge with folks. And I thank you for your work, and thank you for having me tonight. And it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I hope maybe somewhere and someday we'll meet for real. But
right.
But I mean, one of the beauties of technology is that we can do this without being in a studio, in Milwaukee, or in the suburbs of Philadelphia, or the wilds of Northeast Indiana. But any of those things. No, I'm very thankful and grateful for you having me on your show, Bill and Ann. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
God bless. God bless. Thank you so much. Please do come back again, Dr. Matt Smith.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. And I want to remind you all that you can sign up for that OSV challenge at very simply osvchallenge.com. And of course, folks, like our ministries, follow our ministries as well. If you're a first-time listener to the program, know that you can follow our ministry at patchworkheart.org, and you can find us and this podcast anywhere podcasts are streamed by simply searching for Patchwork Heart Radio. So you do that, and we join you each and every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, live. But until then, keep beating to your Catholic heart and sowing hope into broken hearts. Thanks for listening to this episode of Sowing Hope on Patchwork Heart Radio. For more information about this podcast and our ministries, visit our websites, patchworkheart.org and andesantis.com. You can also follow and interact with us on Twitter at PWH Ministry or Andy Santis 2.